Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the plant room. So today, as you can see, I've got a couple of succulents on my table. Yeah, I know. My taste in plants is broad. I like all types of plants. But I thought we'd take a look at some succulents in my collection. Since I always tend to focus on Hoya or philodendron and things of that nature, thought we'd look at something a little different. Spike your interest. If you like this type of content, stick around. All right, guys, as I mentioned, I have four succulents that I brought downstairs from my collection that I wanted to show you. Now, I do like succulents. I like specific types of succulents. Like I enjoy um, the aloe family, even the ones that kind of look like aloes but aren't aloes. So, first, let's talk about a couple of things these plants on my table have in common. They're all native to South Africa, they're all very drought tolerant, they all enjoy bright light, and their soil mix is cactus amended with perlite. And that's all I do for them. Now, I wanted to say people recommend succulents as a new plant parent friendly plant, and I tend to disagree with that. And here's my reason why. When you're a new plant parent, you tend to hover over your plants, always watching them. Do they need water? Do they need this? These plants aren't like that. Succulents, I won't say thrive on neglect, but they don't need all that extra attention or care. Um, for these particular guys, I water them in the summer, maybe every 7 to 10 days, and in the wintertime, even less. And I think that's where new plant parents fail. Now, what I would say is that these type of plants are perfect for those people that want to be plant parents but just don't have the time, or that travel a lot and want to have a little spot of greenery in their home, because you don't have to baby them. And that's the great thing about succulents. They don't require being babied. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've got a couple of notes because I wanted to make sure I got this right. Let's see. Pull these two back. These two right here, although they look like succulents and they actually feel like succulents, they're not. They're closely related to the succulent family. This one is called a little warthy, and the scientific name is Gasteria. Now, I bought this plant. It came in a little pot, those little 2-inch pots that are about yay big, with just one plant like this. Since then, I've had her since 2022, and she's got two pups in here. Recently, I up potted her because she was just not fitting and falling over in the pot that she was in. This plant probably won't get repotted again for another couple of years, but super easy to grow. What's cool about this one is that these leaves, I'm going to see if I can tip her a little bit without making an entire mess. I'm not sure if the camera can capture that, but these leaves are bumpy. They have a texture on them, and they're kind of variegated, if you will. Maybe if I turn it this way, you can see better. Yeah. They're, those little bumps, they're textured. I think that's where the common name come. It has tongue in it, something tongue. Anyway, very cool plant. You would treat it very much like an aloe. She pups fairly quickly because these pups have been around for a while. She's just very slow growing. And I think that's another thing, another interesting point. People that have plants or have cared for plants find aloes to be very slow. In my case, I enjoy the fact that they're slow because they don't take up a whole lot of room, and I don't have to keep trying to reshift my plants in order to accommodate them. They live on a shelf, they grow at their own pace, and I enjoy that about them. That's one of the things that I appreciate. Now, this one is a zebra. Also looks very much like an aloe, but sports some of the same features or yeah, features where the leaves on here are very bumpy. They're spiky, but they don't hurt. But the texture, it has this bumpy texture on it. This one is called a zebra. It's a Haworthia zebra. And it's recently pupped as well. It's got two little pups in here. And it's really cool. I have potted this one, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months ago at the beginning of the growing season. And at that time, she had one pup, but now there's two in there, and it's really cool. The pups come out a very light green, and as they get older, they darken out and have these little white bumps on it, which are rough. It's just different. Succulents have their own beauty. You just have to be able to appreciate them for what they are. Very slow growing, um, very minimal care, and you just enjoy them. Remember to water them once every 2 weeks, if that. Okay, another one. So these two guys, these are related to the aloe. You know how like with the what do they call the, oh my goodness, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Snake plants. That's what I wanted to say. Snake plants come in a buttload of varieties. There you've got, the whale fin, you've got the silver one, you've got the regular one. There's a whole bunch of them. Well, aloes are the same. There's different varieties of aloes. Now, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 months ago, you guys saw me repot my aloe, and I put her in a big pot. And that was a concern for you guys. She's doing well. I've figured out how to water her where she's not rotting or anything, and she's doing well, and she's still leaning, which was what I was trying to solve for. But it's okay. She's happy. But I've got these other two little aloes. Now, this one is, I think it's pronounced correctly, miter aloe. And what I like about her is that even though she's very similar to the other aloe, again, she's got that little rough texture, and the teeth on the edge of the leaf is a little bit more pronounced. And that is very cool to me. And then I like the color. So the color of this one is very different than our regular aloe. This one is a lot paler, and it's striking to me. I think it's very cool. And if you like aloe plants, you'll enjoy this one. Again, I find that aloes grow kind of top heavy. So I up potted this one maybe at the same time I did this guy right here to try to give it a little bit more stability in the pot. And all she's done is gone ahead and leaned this way. So I'm going to leave her alone because apparently I have a hard time figuring out how to get them to sit upright. Maybe they just don't. But this one seems to be happy, just like that. And I do enjoy the color of the leaves. I'm a leaf girl. So I don't even know if these are called leaves. What are they called, guys? I'm not sure. Anyway, I think this is really, really cool. And the back of the leaf, I talked a lot about the front. The back is smooth, up into the point, up into the tip. At the tip, it develops that spikiness too. Now, this guy right here is a Zabina Wichita. It was sold as a Zabina Wichita, but if you search for an aloe called Zabina, it will come up. Now, this one is really cool. Look at the coloration on her leaves. I think that is so interesting. And then on the sides, it's not spiky, but it has these little things protruding from the side. It's really cool. And that coloration of the dark and the light on the leaves just makes it so very different. And it's an aloe. And I've seen several, like I need another plant, but I've seen several varieties of aloes that have caught my eye. I may at some point, if I can figure out how to add another succulent shelf upstairs, I may consider getting a couple more. But right now, my succulent shelf can't handle anymore. Some of the common issues, and I wrote these down because it's one of the things I find people ask me about more often as it pertains to aloes. One of the questions or one of the issues that I find they have is the overwatering. Aloes, they have these fat, chunky leaves because they store water within their leaves. So if we overwater them, they're going to rot because they just can't uptake that water. So that's one of the things that I would caution you to watch out on, especially if you're a new plant parent. They don't need a whole lot of water. You have to really mitigate how you're watering them. Typically for me, if I'm being totally honest with you guys, these guys don't get watered but maybe once every 3 weeks, sometimes four, and they seem to be just fine. So I think less water is actually better for these guys. Another thing I see is people using the wrong soil mix. Now, with that, I'm not saying you have to run out and get um, cactus soil, right? The pre-made cactus soil. But if you're going to use potting soil, you really need to amend it with something. I would add some gritty sand to it, some perlite. They need a different type of soil mix. They just don't flourish in regular household potting mix because it retains too much water. So at the very least, if that's all you have, amend it with a little bit of perlite because that'll help it drain and dry a little quicker versus just using um, straight soil mix. Another thing is the plastic pots. So I do have mines in plastic pots. I have a few in plastic pots, but I've learned how to account for that. Now we have to remember that plastic tends to retain the moisture inside the pot a little longer. Therefore, the soil doesn't dry out as quickly as if you had it in one of these clay pots. And I know that people don't like the clay pots because as the water evaporates, you develop these markings, or the salt gets trapped within the clay and it makes the pot look like this, all old and weathered. To be honest with you, I kind of like this old and weathered look. And you could literally wipe this off with a paper towel dipped in Clorox and just wipe that off if you don't like it. But I enjoy when the pots start looking old. Just a matter of taste. And if you don't like this, you can always put it in the cover pot. But for your succulents, at least in my experience, the clay pot is a better option over the plastic one. Another thing that I see is not enough light. So cactus, let's think about what we just said. I said earlier in the video that these plants are typically native to South Africa. It's hot over there. It's sunny and it's hot. The weather is totally different. The climate is totally different than where we're from, or where most of us are from. These plants require a lot of light. Now, I'm not saying it has to be direct sun or anything like that, but they need light. When they don't get enough light, I'm going to butcher this word, etiliate, they stretch, they reach for the light. So then you start getting that leggy growth where it's more stem than leaves, and they look funny when they do that. So if you don't have enough light, as I do, which I don't, the shelf that they're on has a grow light that is right above them. That's why I don't have the funny looking long, I can't say that word for some reason. Attenuation. My goodness. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. But they're not stretching. They're not stretching for the light simply because they have grow lights right over them. And I think that's helping. It's an important factor. They need that extra light. Another issue that I see with these guys is over fertilization. Now, you'll get burns, your tips will start to turn yellow, and the plant will suffer. These plants don't grow that quick. Although they're producing leaves and they produce roots, this is one of the species of plants in my collection that I don't water with fertilizer every time I water. I fertilize these plants spring through summer. They'll probably get their last dose of fertilizer with this watering, the next watering that they have, and then I won't fertilize anymore. Because I have noticed that even though these guys are under the grow light, they do still grow, but they don't grow as quickly. And I think we should take that into account when we're caring for them. They're not fast plants. They're slow growers, and we if you enjoy succulents, then you need to accept the fact that they're not going to grow quick. So if you want a quick fix, this is not the plant for you. Then let's talk about pests. So I've learned to say that I've never had pests. So I'm not going to say that because as soon as I say it, then I see something. But I've been fortunate where what I've seen are mostly gnats, fungus gnats. And that's when I've overwatered, which I have done in the past. But for the most part, I have not seen pests on these plants. Now, I know mealybugs and thrips are possible. And I say that because the aloe in the kitchen did have thrips. So I know for a fact that these guys do get bugs. But for the most part, in my experience, I haven't seen them on here. And that's a good thing. Because bugs freak me out, and I'm sure they freak you out too. You get ready to throw the plant in the trash. I've been there. I know. So that's really all I wanted to tell you about these pretty little succulents on my table. I think that they're great plants. I know they're not for everybody. A lot of people either can't grow them or just don't like them because they're slow. I have a lot of plants and I do appreciate the slowness. I appreciate the variety that you can get with succulents. I think they're very pretty. I think when we buy plants, we buy them for what they are. You know, the potential that you can get, the potential with these guys is a little slower, so you have to have more patience in order to see them flourish. And I understand that. But succulents are pretty plants, and there's some that you should probably look at or consider or take, pay more attention to. At Home Depot, for instance, you'll always find cute little succulents for under $5. All of these were purchased like that, very tiny in the little 2-inch cup. I thought I had one of those cups up there. Do I? Nope. Little 2-inch cups. And, with a little patience and time, they grow up to be pretty big and pretty. So if you like succulents, you should consider them. Give one a shot and see how it works out for you. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you all for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Share with a friend. Talk to you guys real soon. Bye.